This is Community Connections, airing on OROMIA11. As always, I am your host, Anna Orr, and today we have a very special episode of Community Connections. We are about to talk all things voting. Who's running for election? How do we register? Where are polling places? And all the other information that you'll need to know. This is going to be a wonderful episode you won't want to miss. Stay tuned. Now let's talk all things voting. Now there are multiple ways for you to vote ahead of the November 8th election. You can vote by mail, absentee, or in person between the dates of September 23rd, 2022 and or November 8th, 2022. Now, you'd probably ask yourself, what do you need to do to ensure your vote counts? You need to register in advance. Now, there are multiple ways of doing that. You can register online or by mail up until 21 days before the election, on or before July 19th for the primary, or register in person on election day. Now, we encourage you to register before election day so that'll save you time at the polling place, but also cut down on your interaction one-to-one with people there. We want to be safe and make sure that we still aren't spreading COVID now. Now, you probably also want to ask yourself, who can vote within the United States? Who can vote, you probably are asking yourself. Well, in the United States, citizens are allowed to vote and non-citizens are able to vote in local elections only. Now, you'll want to check if your area is included in that, and I'll provide some websites at the end of this conversation so that you'll be able to look up and know in advance that information. You'll also have to meet your state's residency requirements. Yes, you can vote if you are homeless. You do not need a residence to be able to cast your vote. And then in some areas, you are able to vote at 18 across the country, but at 16 in some local elections only. Now, you'll want to also check with your area to make sure that your 16-year-old, or if you yourself are 16, can qualify to actually do this. Also, in almost every state, you can register to vote before you turn 18, if you will be 18 on election day. I repeat that again. You can register in advance to vote if you are going to be 18 by election day. You also can vote if you are registered to vote by your state's voter registration deadline. North Dakota does not require a voter registration. Now let's talk who can't vote. Non-citizens, including permanent legal residents, cannot vote in federal, state, and most local elections. Some people following felony convictions or who are currently serving time for other types of crimes. Rules are different in each state, so you want to not only check with your Department of Justice to understand the laws in your state, but you'll also want to talk to your probation officer and make sure that you're following guidelines to ensure that you may be able to, that you can cast your vote. For those that are still inquiring about who can't vote, some people are mentally incapacitated, and rules for this vary by state. So you will want to talk to your local polling location as well as your local government website to ensure that if you are mentally incapacitated, that what the guidelines look like for you to cast your vote. For president in the general election, U.S. citizens residing in U.S. territories, so Puerto Rico, Hawaii, areas like that, you are able to cast your vote. You'll want to check with your local, state, and or election office for any questions that you may have surrounding this. Now, I know that was a lot of information, but that is really important for us to be able to cast our votes. I know a lot of people believe that we're only able to cast our votes for the presidency on November 8th. However, we are able to vote for senators, we're able to vote for attorney generals, and so much more. There'll be elections surrounding the Senate, House, as well as local elections that would control things like your school board memberships and so much more. And these all connect us to be able to cover things like education, local issues, where money is being allocated. And these situations are so paramount to our neighborhoods and communities because that sets the tone for how our communities will look for the next 4 years. Now, let's talk the where about voting. We've talked a little bit about how and who, but let's talk about where we can vote. Now, all polling places are open on Election Day, November 8, 2022, at 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Your assigned polling place is located near where you live. Now, you'll want to check online the polling place finder ahead of each election to confirm your Election Day polling place. Now, due to zonings and things like that take place within our areas, sometimes where we have voted one time, by the time the next election rolls around, we are able to vote somewhere else. So I have pollfinder.sos.state.mn.us is where you can look up where you can vote. Also, the us.gov website will walk you through step by step on finding where you can vote. And if the place has changed, it'll give all of that information. There's also a toll-free number associated with that website for you to call in with language assistance for you to cast your vote and have the information necessary. Now, we talked a little bit about language. Let's talk about if you are someone that is experiencing a disability or worried about accessibility issues on the day of the election. Now, I have the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, or www.eac.gov. And the EAC will provide you with assistance if you want to be able to get in and you are disabled and you want to know how close or how far you need to be able to park to get into your polling place. Or if you are experiencing hearing loss, or you need a magnifying glass to help you amplify the words on the ballot, things of that nature, or if you speak another language and would like documents to be made a little easier for you, the EAC will be your starting point. Here at OROMIA11, we are doing our best to give you up-to-date information on candidates running, Republican and Democrat, as well as Green Party members, to provide you with all their information as well as the facts so that when you go into the ballot on November 8th, you are able to cast your vote with the best information possible. Now, we're going to have events coming up soon that will air on this channel, providing you with an up-close and personal look into the candidates running for office here within the Twin Cities, and that'll affect on a national level going forward. So people that are running for Hennepin County Attorney, Attorney General, and so much more, to kind of help us reassess what the landscape of our city is going to look like here within the state of Minnesota. This is not going to be something you want to miss, and I hope it'll be informational but also educational for those of you that may find yourself casting your vote here for the first time. Now, for those of you that are hearing this episode and are thinking to yourself, well, I'm not a citizen, or I'm not registered to vote, or how can I help if I'm not able to vote, or I have a felony, or things like that? Well, this part of the conversation is for you. There are so many organizations that are here within the Twin Cities and probably within your area that are doing things like providing food for people at the polls, that are giving people rides to polling places, that are handing out flyers to give up-to-date information on candidates as well as polling place locations. Lend yourself or your network to this effort. This is important, and it takes all kinds. So if you can walk and pass out flyers, if you can sit on a phone bank and talk to people about candidates or provide them up-to-date information, please volunteer locally so that you can give people the opportunity to cast their vote. We need everyone lending themselves to the issues that matter near and dear to our communities. Now, we have talked who can and can't vote. We have talked about where you can vote. We've talked about how you can register to vote and why voting matters. I want to talk a little bit more in depth about why local elections matter. I know that we hear so much in media about why the presidency matters and things of that nature. However, if you are worried about money being allocated for schools, having grocery store accessibility, money for community needs, as well as human services, this is your time to shine. the local elections and the landscape of local elections are changing, but it only will change in our communities if we get out and vote for the people that are willing to do the work. So you're going to have to do a little bit of research, and hopefully I provided you with some access points for you to do your homework on who's running. We're going to do our best here to provide you with that up-to-date information. However, the responsibility and the gift of voting is truly on us. Now, before I cut out for some audience participation on the street, I hope that something said or done here today has encouraged you to vote or you have found informative. Are you registered to vote?
I am. Yeah.
Okay. Is this your first time voting?
No.
Okay. Do you have a clue as to who you're interested in voting for?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going in person or are you going to mail it in?
Mail it in.
Okay. Okay. Let me know a little bit about why you care to cast your vote.
Because I definitely care on what the government you put in place does. I think it affects your whole way of life, and I think voting it's just your way of doing your part of what you believe in, I guess. Yeah.
Did you cast your vote in the primary election?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, my name is Hiba.
Okay. Hiba, are you registered to vote?
I am.
Okay. Now, can you just share with us a little bit about why you feel voting is important?
I think that it's important for you to have as much autonomy and say in your government as possible. Actually, I work as an election judge. I've been doing that for the last several cycles, and thank you. And I think it's absolutely essential, especially for young people, to get involved and to know their rights and to know what they actually have a say in, because you have a lot more power than you think you do, and it starts in very small spaces. It starts with the smaller elections and the primaries, and yeah, I think it's essential for people to be aware of those things and to get involved.
Can you share with me a little bit about your work as an election judge for those that don't necessarily know what that is or what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. I go to the polls. I work with the team. I get there at like 6 a.m. I leave after all the ballots have been locked up and then sent back to wherever the base precinct is. But yeah, me and my team are usually in charge of ensuring that people are registered to vote, receive their ballots, that their ballots all go through the ballot counter, and there's nothing incorrect or no ballot is counted twice. So just procedural things.
Okay. Now, are you clear on who you want to vote for this go round?
Yes, I'm very clear on who I want to vote for this election.
And how did you make yourself aware of what their policies were or where their stance were on issues that matter to you?
There are a lot of resources online. There's Vote 411 that usually takes information from different candidates from various parties. A lot of news outlets and sources on the internet are going to go ahead and have sit-down interviews with different candidates and get their information straight from the source. I myself have also reached out to candidates and called them on the phone and talked with people from their team when I have questions. That's a really good way to get more information. But definitely take the time to research it. There's no reason why you should rush into voting. It's a big decision, and yeah.
You read one. Are you registered to vote?
Yes, I am.
Is this your first time voting?
Second time.
Okay. Can you talk to me about the process for you? Did you find it easy to register to vote?
Absolutely. Yeah, everything's easy. You know, I go online and register and mail in ballot, and also early voting. And voting has never been easier.
Okay. Can you talk to me about why it's important for you to cast your vote?
Oh, it absolutely, because my voice matters. So I don't want to wait others to vote for me or to voice for me. So yeah, I believe that a single vote can overturn an election. So yeah, that's why it matters.
I think that's really important. Thank you so much for your time, Michael. And are you registered to vote?
Oh, of course.
And what is the importance of being registered to vote mean to you?
For me, it's about civil rights. You, each and every one of us have a purpose to participate in any kind of government procedures. And civil rights just happens to be one of my fortes. So it's like, even though a lot of people I have met, they was like, well, voting don't matter. It does matter. Just because one person think it doesn't mean that everybody else should not vote. Vote because eventually it will affect your life somewhere down the line. Perfect example. Everybody's saying, well, Donald Trump was a bad president. Well, if you didn't vote, why speak on it?
Okay. Are you registered to vote?
Yep.
Okay. And how do you plan to vote this year if you haven't already? In person, by mail, absentee?
So I plan to vote in person this year.
Okay. And can you explain to me, did you find the process easy or difficult?
Well, when I was renewing my ID, they just asked me, so I'm glad they're like offering to register people to vote as they issue IDs. So.
And can you talk to me about why it's important for you to cast your vote?
Well, I think that all people should have a voice in who they want running the state, the government. So I believe that everyone should vote to have a say in who they want in office.
Nick, are you registered to vote?
Yes, I am.
Is this your first time voting?
No, it is not.
Okay. And are you going to be voting in person, absentee, or mail?
I have requested a mail-in ballot, so that's the plan right now.
Okay. Now, can you talk to me about the importance of your vote? Why you feel it's important?
I think that if I have important feelings or any sort of feelings at all about outcomes of elections, it's important to get out and vote because otherwise you have no say in the matter.
Laura, do you live within the Twin Cities?
Yes, I live in Minneapolis.
Okay. Are you registered to vote?
Yes, for sure.
And how do you plan on participating? In person, mail-in, absentee?
Probably in person on election day.
And why do you feel like your vote matters?
There are such important things going on in this city, in this country, and we all have the right to vote. And if we don't speak up now, then things could get a lot worse.
And Dana, are you registered to vote?
I am.
And do you live in the Twin Cities area?
I do. I live in North Minneapolis.
Okay. Is this your first time voting?
No, I've voted every election since I was 18.
Okay. And can you talk to me about why you feel it's important to cast your vote?
I think it's important to vote because it's who represents us and what the community wants. And if we're not voting, then nobody is passing legislation that is important to our communities.
That's very important. Now, you said you live in North Minneapolis. There's a lot going on over in North Minneapolis concerning civic leadership. Can you share with me something that sticks out, whether it be education, sustainability, crime, anything like that? Can you talk to me about one key thing that you find important for your area?
Yeah, I think in my area, it's police accountability and policing in our neighborhoods. A lot of times you think that there's no cops over there, and then you see someone pulled over and realize it's all undercover cops. And this is, I think, primarily happened since George Floyd. And so, I really want to see Mary Moriarty win so that we can have more accountability in our policing. North Side's predominantly people of color, and so I really want to see police accountability because it'll protect our communities of color.
November 8th is Election Day. I hope that something was said or done today that encourages you to honor your civic duty by casting your vote. This is going to be a very important election covering a lot of very important topics. Please familiarize yourself with the candidates and information that will govern your communities and this country. As always, I am Anna Orr, and this has been a special episode of Community Connections. I look forward to connecting again with you soon.